Okay.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Madden. For those of you who didn't know, that was Mr. Madden, our city administrator. So he's in charge of the technical side and all the operational things that go on in our city. So I appreciate him being here and helping me do this type thing. So it's Friday, the May 20th at 4 p.m. Coming to you live from my office in City Hall. Um, Hopefully by next month, we'll have some locations picked out, and we'll be in person again. And I'll try to get back into some of the local businesses that I've used Crave Coffee in the past, and a couple of other places, and we'll try to do that to make it a little more informal type thing. But Zoom may be the way we stay for a little while, but that won't preclude us being out in person as often as I can get out. And most of you know how to reach me lots of different ways, so I will always want to be available. And that was part of my mission statement I gave you when I took this office. I'll be available at published times and places for all of you to interact with me. So I want to stand true to that vision statement or mission statement. Today's topic is a repeat of what we did Monday morning at 8 a.m. this past Monday morning on our Malden East Butler Road project. It's also was labeled, entitled by South DOT as I think the term today is hashtag building a better Butler. And that was used for their website and their interaction with us. So I like the title. I look forward to getting a better Butler. To give you some of the background, those of you who have been with us for a long time know that we went through a project years ago, and we expanded West Butler into a 5-lane, 2 lanes each direction with the middle turn lane. And you've seen the growth in that happened down West Butler, and the commercialization as well as the residential all the way out West Butler through Conistea area. Out somewhere there makes the transition being called a Malden Road. But shortly thereafter, we started focusing on what we're going to do with East Butler. And we've got the section out in front of the high school all the way out to Holland Road. It's been also 4-lane or 5 lanes, what they like to call it. And that's been a very good road for us. And you see the growth and everything happened out there type thing. So the discussion back in the 2005, 2010, 12, 14 was, what are we going to do with our city, and especially with the East Butler Road segment from 276 to the high school that hasn't been anything done with it, hadn't even been paved. And so we started with the vision of what we saw the transition the city of Malden was going to be making and why. And I can go over some of that demographic information and to prepare for that. But the study that the city of Malden undertook in 2013, 14, and then was put together by Tool Design Group and Sprague and Sprague engineering firm in 2014, 2015. We did a lot of reaching out to our business owners. We had several, I don't know how many public meetings with drawings, computers, saying, what do you want East Butler to look like to come into this, what we call the center of Malden, to our main intersection. So that study was published early 2016. Part of that, you probably saw the video. Well, hopefully you saw some of the videos of a bicyclist riding down East Butler to the high school, turning around and coming back into the center of Malden. If you're a bicyclist, you know the challenges. I personally, even though I was younger, wouldn't try to ride a bicycle on East Butler, especially certain times of the day. But the bicycle group and the state of South Carolina, the former governor, made significant progress for publicizing the bicyclist mode of travel, and they slowly have moved away of getting bike lanes, if you will, little 2-foot strips on the side of a road. They've moved away from that, saying it was unsafe, and they really wanted to move into uh, a multi-use path separated from the main roadway. So that'll come into play in part of the discussion when I get into where we're at today type thing. But that was also addressed by the East Butler Road corridor study that was published by Tool Design Group in 2016. The council then wholeheartedly endorsed that. We wanted to go along with that. Our traffic study then stated that the volume of traffic coming on East Butler did not warrant 5 lanes roadway. We wanted to do the 2 lanes with the center turn lane, and then have sidewalks, multi-use path, that type of thing. And it was endorsed, and that's what we've been pursuing. The funding for that, or the funding of doing our East Butler Road area, which hadn't been paved since prior to 2010 that I'm aware of. It's been working its way through a committee, and it's called the GPAT committee. It's Greenville Pickens Area Transportation Study Group. They have a professional staff that's basically reports to Greenville County. And then it's made up of a policy committee of 31 members. The mayors from the various metropolitan areas sit on that. The mayor of Greenville, mayor of Clemson, Pickens, Travelers Rest, Greer, of course, Malden, Simpsonville, Fountain Inn. I know I'm missing some of them. And then some of our state representatives and our state senators sit on that, along with the DOT commissioners. So it's made up of a lot of group, and they're basically in charge of the funding. We get a lot of, I think it's, I don't even know what it is, $17, $18 million a year to look at doing transportation projects throughout most of the upstate, if you will, type thing. So, excuse me a second. So our request for funding for East Butler Road project has been working its way up. So we're now in the top 10 priority list. Funding was allocated at somewhere around $17 million total to do the East Butler Road project. Part of that went to engineering, and the other is for the right of way and the construction. So that's where we're sitting now. Current schedule from DOT shows construction starting early 2023. And prior to that, there'll be at least a year of right-of-way acquisition, that type of thing. So you're moving backwards to where we are today. The number one thing ahead of us, after all of you have seen the in-person meeting, you've seen the website and solicited the comments, and all the comments have been turned in. They've been reviewed by DOT, project engineer, project manager, Casey Lucas. And they've been reviewed by me and some of the staff here at City of Malden. We're still in discussions with DOT based on that feedback from our citizens on different things we can do to minimize some of the impact, but still give us what we need, what we are standing behind, what we feel that we need, type thing. I want to be sure you understand, though, building a better Butler project, as well as where we've been trying since our tool design group study in 2016, based on the traffic study that we did then, and DOT did one last year. It came back that the traffic study says East Butler Road does not warrant a 5-lane roadway coming on and connecting to 276 Main Street and connecting out near our high school. Traffic study didn't warrant that. And that was based on projections also that says not only the traffic today and what you've got going on, but the projected growth for the upper South Carolina area, which includes Greenville County and the city of Malden, shows us growing annually at 3% through 2030, 2040. Even with the addition of the Bridgeway Station coming online, the traffic volume did not warrant a 5-lane roadway coming to the center of Malden. So That concurred with the tool design group and our traffic study. So we said, okay, let's get the 3 lanes, 2 lanes, the center turn lane project moving. We'd like to see some green space, if you would. Some planted medias in the middle as you get into the center of Malden area, saying, hey, look, slow down. You're coming into the main area in the city of Malden. There's got to be something going on here. So that kind of process is what's been moving through with DOT. There are a series of intersections. Because this project involves federal money, by their requirements and South Carolina DOT requirements, every intersection that's touched by this East Butler Road project must be brought up to standards. That includes turn lanes in certain areas, whether it's right turn, left turn, or just cleaning up the intersection and bringing it up to speed to meet the standards of the day. But the overall goal throughout this project is to improve the flow of traffic. So the traffic volume doesn't justify a 5-lane. The current roadway we have with what they call 3 lanes will handle the volume, but it needs help with the flow. I'll give you an simple example. If you're coming down East Butler toward the center of the city of Malden, and someone is going to turn right into Hyde Circle, everybody behind them has to stop for them to make that right turn. Well, the nature of the requirements today is they should be an area to accelerate that right turn or to pull off into a right turn lane where the straight through traffic keeps flowing. Now that works both eastward and westward type thing. So that's a simple design or a simple answer as to what improved flow means. So that's where we're heading right now. Been a long week. My voice is beginning to give out, but I've tried to bring you up to speed on where we're at right now. So they got to improve the flow. They got to improve the turn lanes, and every intersection this touch must be improved and brought up to standards. So let's talk about where we're at on the East Butler Road project. We're talking about the segment about 1.7 miles. That's from 276 or our main street, heading eastward down East Butler, all the way. It was going to end at Bridges Road. Well, early on, when we got them to review that, they had realized that only 3 years or 4 years ago, they had already done the Bridges Road intersection. And we really didn't want to get into encroachment again on the open air market and basically destroy our entire parking area and the ability for her to do business. So we're able to get them to move back to cutting the project off at the entranceway to our Ray Hopkins Center, our city park. So they'll end there at that entranceway. So if you're familiar with that, as you're coming up around the hill off to the left, you see our baseball fields, our walking track. The next driveway to the left, before you get to that open air market, gets you into City Park and the Ray Hopkins Senior Center. That's where the project will end now, okay? So that defines where we're at. Now, if you come back and you're at Main Street and you start traveling East Butler Road, let's talk about the intersections, then we'll come back and talk about each one of them in detail. All right, so you're coming down East Butler, you pass City Hall. First thing you run into is traffic from Owens Lane off to your right at Nana's Kitchen. Owens Lane is a state road. So is East Butler, okay, that's why DOT's involved. Cross the railroad tracks and you first see the left turn into Murray Drive. Within a matter of feet on your right is the intersection of Fairfield Drive. Now, that one is one we're going to talk about in detail a little bit later kind of thing. And that's at the railroad track. So right as you cross it, you see Murray on your left, Fairfield on your right. Come on around the curve to the next red light. It is a red light. You have Hyde Circle to your left. You have Bonaire Street to your right. Bonaire Street is a state road. Hyde Circle is a city road. Okay, so we got the intersection there. You come on through there, you come up and over the hill, you go down, and you've got Mutz's on your right, vacant lot on the left. The next lot you see is being cleared off for Mercy Housing. That'll be 42 to 46 apartments going in there. With the parking around back, it won't be on street parking. Then you've got the ABC store there, a service station. Then you're at Old Mill Road on your left. Then offset by 100 feet on your right is Bethel Drive. Okay, Bethel Drive is a state road. Old Mill is a state road. So both those are state roads. Then you come on down the hill, you go around another little curve and come up kind of a hill, and the first thing you see the Church of God, and then there's a townhome project there, and then there's a new townhome project being built there. Off to the right, you see the entrance to Holly Springs. That's Brook Bend. That's the one that has two entrances divided by a little green space there, a little green triangle in the middle type thing. And just past that green triangle, both Brook Bends merge together before you get to an intersection in Holly Springs there. So that area had to be cleaned up type thing. And then you're up around the hill. Off to the left is the driveway to City Park. That's where we stop. Okay, I covered each one of those kind of in a broad spec. Now let's come back. And I think most of the people I see online have been here for a while, so you should be familiar with these as I pick them off type thing. We're going to come from 276 first at that intersection at East Butler Road 276. If you're heading westward, meaning you're at the red light, the old Rite Aid, Eckerd's, Family Dollar was on your right. Hopefully you saw the newscast. The Parker Group just announced Maverick Station going in that building. So you'll see that whole building being renovated, and we're excited about that. A couple of restaurants, potential retail or office space in there. So, hey, finally cleaned up that intersection. But if you're sitting at that intersection and you're going straight through and the cars behind you are wanting to turn right on 276, there is no right turn lane. So that traffic backs up there. So you got two lanes backing up. You have a left turn lane to get you heading on south on South Main Street. So that's got to be addressed by DOT there. You come on down till you get to Owens Lane. That comes in at an angle that doesn't fit their design standards today. They propose a right turn out of Owens on the East Butler only. At one time, early on, they showed the drawings that if you're coming up East Butler, you would not be able to turn left into Owens Lane. They've retweaked that, and then the last meeting we had, they are giving us the impression they're going to redo that. So you will be able to turn left onto Owens Lane coming up East Butler. And then, of course, if you're leaving Owens Lane, you'll only be able to turn right. Major improvement for that. So, but as soon as you do, you cross the railroad tracks. We got Murray Drive and Fairfield Drive, and they're offset. There's a lot of technical reasons that DOT has that we can't put a red light there. We can't align those. They're still too close to the railroad track. It's a safety issue. There's a whole list of issues. So one of the things they're considering is maybe closing Fairfield Drive and make it a cul-de-sac down about 100 yards off East Butler. And there'll be no exit from Fairfield Drive onto East Butler. So that's one of the discussions they're having with us right now. As you're coming on down East Butler, there may be some media in the center, hopefully planted medias, garden, tree areas that will dress up as you're coming into or leaving the city of Malden. Round the curve, you get to Bon Air and Hyde Circle. We had a good meeting last Wednesday with DOT and showed them some different alignments that might work. As you're well aware, the several announcements had been made that the old Ed's Handy Mart has been torn down to a vacant lot. There was a very promising restaurant coming there, ready to build. But the East Butler Road project has some constraints that they couldn't work out right away, and they were asked to hold off. So we may have lost that. We haven't given up in the city, so we've asked DOT for some adjustments there. There's an impact also to Emmanuel Bible Church there as far as their right of way and turning right off of Bon Air onto East Butler. So that intersection is up for some discussions, and we've asked for a few tweaks, and they're looking at it. They've gone back to Columbia and going to look at it again. Huge drainage problem there if you had a Hispanic supermarket, so you understand that. That would have to be addressed, and they're well aware of that. So I did have a ride along with the Deputy Secretary of Engineering, and he made notes of those areas, so he's very familiar with that. So that's an area we've got to work through some improvements. Come across the top of the hill, go past Mutts, you get to the old mill, Bethel Drive. That is a major point of discussion. It continues to be. We had the meeting last Wednesday with DOT. Several in their staff members were there. They have come back with some additional, what they're calling tweaks to do that. We got some big hurdles there because on the Old Mill Road, there's the mobile home park that's there that has been defined as a workforce-based, predominantly Hispanic neighborhood. It's also defined as an environmental justice study or an area that we have to be sure that they are not disproportionately affected by any alignments that we're trying to do there. And there's discussion on that. Of course, those of you who saw the drawing saw that one of the alternatives was to come up Bethel Drive and veer to the left and go through Cameron Place, potentially destruction of 12 to 15 townhomes in there just to align up to Old Mill. So that one I think is pretty much off the table because we expressed the desire that anyone south of East Butler Road, and that would include Cameron Place and Fargo, we did not want those citizens affected and minimize that. So they've gone back and retweaking some of that. They've retweaked their preferred alternative, which is to go through the Taylor's property. They've retweaked it to the point back closer to what they originally showed, which would not touch any of the homes on Fargo nor on Bethel Drive getting up to Fargo. I think it still is going to touch some of the property on the corner house there, but not the home itself, maybe only the corner of the property, maybe the carport and that. So again, these were informal things. They were just showing for our feedback. We expressed our concern there as far as trying to, we didn't want two red lights 1,200 feet apart. We didn't want the 5 lanes between the 2 red lights because of the right of way that it was taking to impact some businesses, especially Joy Real Estate. I mean, if you look at that, it was basically destroying their entire parking, and they already need more parking. Very successful company has been here for many, many, many years. And so we explained that priority, as well as coming on up East Butler, including the Barbary property and the rental home there that's, I'll call it the Clyde property for lack of a better term, and the Bishop Homestead there. So we talked about that and why we don't think it justifies 5 lanes in there, and 2 of those are turn lanes and things like that. So they've heard all of that. They still are trying to, they came with 5 different alternatives. 2 of them we took off the table from our point of view. The others we asked them to retweak because of the concern of trying to minimize the impact to the mobile home park and some other properties and the real estate company type thing. So they're going back and look at that. It's going to be tough. Somebody's going to be impacted. What I am learning that sitting in this seat as the mayor's seat is it's a negotiation, and nobody's going to come away with everything they want. And all I'm expressing is what Malden wants, is what I've been told. I don't live there. I don't live at that intersection, so I don't have a personal involvement. But as your mayor, I am expressing the comments I saw and getting the best deal I think we can get with the constraints we have on us, which of course is money, South Carolina DOT, and federal funds. So then from there, we go on down to the entranceway to Holly Springs, Brook Bend. I think everybody, I won't say everybody, never use everybody, but for the vast majority I've read, they're okay with one of the entrances from Brook Bend being closed off, cul-de-sac. I'm gonna call it the upper entrance. If you're coming eastward, going toward the high school, it'd be the second entrance. They're gonna make that a valid intersection, if you will, widen it, and that would be the primary, that would be the only entranceway in and out of on Brook Bend. Yes, it does align across the street with the driveway into the new townhomes. That's been on the books since 2016, so it's not a surprise. The new townhome development didn't cause that alignment. That's what's been on the books since 2015, 2016, was always to make that one entrance exit for Brook Bend and align it up on the upper side. And we actually worked with the townhome developers to move their driveway to align with that entrance to Brook Bend. So that wasn't caused by DOT's project. That was what we asked them for from day one, from 2015. Okay. And then as you're coming up there, the multi-use path, which will be on the northbound side of the East Butler Road project, will tie into our walking trail that goes around our baseball fields and comes out below Ray Hopkins Senior Center, and will tie in hopefully a crosswalk there. Got to have a crosswalk there, not signalized, but a crosswalk over to the other side of Corn Road. Then you'll turn right and go to the red light and turn left and walk the sidewalk up till you get to the next red light at the parking lot, student parking lot. You'll be able to cross to the right there, that's a signalized intersection and crosswalk, and get on to the new trail segment that we've just almost finished paving. It will be the quarter-mile down to 385 that will tie into the bridge that will go over 385 into Bridgeway Station. So that's kind of one of the segments of the walking trail bicycle paths we'll have. There's 6 or 8 more. They're not public yet, but just looking at different ways to utilize rewall right away, our beautiful creeks that we have that just so happen to parallel some of the rewall right of ways and the city right of ways. So coming down Gilder Creek Blue Line tributary into Gilder Creek where it crosses under East Butler, there's lots, I won't say lots, 3 or 4 different little segments we can put in there for walking trails and bicycle paths. And we're excited about those. They continue to have discussion. They're not on paper yet because then they'd have to be formalized, and we don't have those committed yet type thing. So that's kind of where we're at on the whole project. We will have sidewalks on what I'll call a sidewalk on the south side, which is the Bethel Drive, Brook Bend side. That's just what I'll call the south side. On the north side is where the multi-use path, I think it's 10-foot pathway that'll be moved off of the curb by a foot or 2, and then the multi-use pathway that will come all the way into our Murray Drive area, into our city center, our sports center, our amphitheater area there. And of course, that gets you to the city center where we're going to build the downtown walkable village, the city center, whatever you want to call it. Our first 24 acres there, and that's where you've seen a couple of exciting announcements from the Parker Group with the old Family Dollar that will be renovated into 2 restaurants and one is confirmed. Hopefully you saw that Sully's Steamer will definitely be in there. So he's committed. And then on the Jenkins Street entrance, you see the development there with, I think they're originally calling it the pickle yard. It'll be repurposing the old warehouses and the front awning on the where the Healy Brown company was renting from us for a long time. So that'll be repurposed there. There'll be some townhomes built where the old public works, fleet management, maintenance shops for that type thing. So we're excited moving forward. So where the segments of the trail will tie in, just look for them at the cultural center, the amphitheater area. That's where we expect to tie most of them in. Now, with that, I'm actually going to do something different. I'm going to hush. And if you have a question, give it to me and I'll try to answer it. If you have an opinion or a comment, good, bad, or indifferent, this is the time that, because I still have the opportunity to feed those into DOT. I will tell you this, Casey committed back. She has all the comments. She has not sent responses out pending an agreement with the city of Malden, and that's where we're currently at. They should be back to us within the next week or two with the tweaks of the retweet or the retweaks of the tweets. And we're going to do that virtually, and we hope to have some drawings then, which would put things more into a picture format that we can see and visualize. Not everybody is a verbal person, so visualization helps a lot, especially for me. So from that standpoint. So again, I promise to hush, I will. If you've got a question, unmute. If multiple people, I'll recognize one of you, and if the others would remute, then we will be sure we get all the questions. I'm here till y'all run out of questions, so let me know.
Terry.
Brenda.
Hey, they are going to do something about the water there that piles up in front of Mutt's, right? I mean, when you have terrible rainstorms, those what are they called? The things on the side of the road that the water goes down into?
The culverts,
yeah,
pipes.
Yeah, they're very small. I mean, if you'll go down that road, going from Mutt's to Mama's, but coming back up toward the red light there at Bon Air, when you come down that road and it's been raining, it's bad. I mean, the culverts are they're very small openings. I've tried to look really bad.
You're talking about the water flow that comes down from what we call the car wash down that hill on that side of the road?
Yes, sir.
Yes. We also call that Pothole Boulevard. Yeah, part of their, this whole project will be, I think they call it a hydro study, because we're actually wanting official curbs this time instead of those rolled curbs, which just didn't work. We're going to have actually what they call curb and gutter. And so they will be redoing those pipes and the flow. And so they have seen it and heard it. So yes, they're there, as well as I showed Leland the other day, the huge issue at the Hispanic supermarket.
Yeah.
And we know that's been there 25 years. I won't blame DOT, and I'd love to, but I won't blame them for that. But it's not engineered correctly, because the water flow coming from Family Video down that hill at Hyde Circle put so much pressure coming downhill. Most of us know water flows downhill 99% of the time. It puts so much back pressure on the water flowing from the Hispanic supermarket pipe, gets backed up and pushed backwards, because it's all got to go under East Butler Road in one pipe, and it goes down and goes left, right to get down to the Blue Line tributary. So they're familiar with those. So I would say, yes, they're going to be.
Okay.
But that's me as the mayor speaking, not South Carolina DOT.
Well, I know that I brought that up when we met with them back in, was it February? Because I mean, that it's terrible. It's really bad. So I didn't know. Okay.
All right. Sounds good. Good. Thank you, Brenda.
Terry, Joy Bailey.
Yes, Joy.
You're saying they're now proposing, per the DOT studies, to do 3 lanes rather than the 5. But how long do they expect 3 lanes to be adequate? Just as we talked about up at the corner at the high school and the open air market, that they were talking about even changing that, and they realized, hey, just 3 years or 4 years ago, they made that major expense and made the change. So what makes us think this is gonna last more than 2 or 3 years?
Well, all the studies that are being posted right now shows us with an annual growth of 3% through 2030, 2040. So they took their traffic studies and they factored in those projections of 2030, 2040, as well as they factored in the, I lost the name as I went and said, Bridgeway Station, that major intersection there. The discussion was whether or not traffic will come from Bridgeway Station and come all the way up Bridges Road to East Butler and Corn Road or into the city of Malden. We kind of say, if I'm coming out of Bridgeway Station and I'm crossing a perfectly good bridge, and I'm wanting to go to Simpsonville, I'm gonna get on 385. So they went back and looked at it and said, well, the numbers do show the volume can be addressed. There may have to be some improvements at that intersection, but it would be on the Bridges Road side, not the Corn Road side. So their projections showed that they did not need or project the need for 2 turn lanes off of Bridges Road into Butler, which was causing them to try to get a 5-lane segment coming all the way around to where the townhomes are at. So right now they're saying the volume will be handled. We just got to get the flow rolling.
My thought process is, though, that even though they're projecting Malden only growing 3%, a great amount of traffic goes to Simpsonville coming from Butler, going out West Butler and going Ashmore Bridge Road or down by Reedy Forks Baptist Church down through there. And that's just coming off the interstate, off Bridges and or Butler at 385. So I kind of beg to differ that we'd have more than a 3%, but I'm not the pro, but I think Malden's, of course, we don't have a very large city limits like Simpsonville does. And I think that projection growth could be skewed a little.
Well, I will agree with you to a certain point. A lot of that traffic you talked about that was coming through East Butler to get on to West Butler to get on Ashmore Bridge Road was trying to get away from the big gateway project out on I-85, 385, the flyovers and all of that. And they've shown a significant decrease in traffic since they opened up the flyover bridges and all that off of 85, 385. So that kind of skewed the numbers back a little bit, but I definitely would defer to you guys because as real estate agents, you know where the growth is at and where the homes are being built, and going out that Fork Shoals Road area and where the old golf course used to be, a lot of growth going on out there. But again, people trying to get to there were coming through Malden because they didn't want to go through the Woodruff Road, I-85, 385 interchange during construction in order to get on down to Malden Road to come off. So that was part of the discussion that got them to factor back in that their studies showed that it will handle the volume. So I don't know, in my lifetime, would the volume ever exceed the 3 lanes? I don't know.
Yeah, understood. I just very surprised that would be the recommendation.
Or realize they're still trying to show 5 lanes between the new Bethel Drive coming out at the Freedom Church near on the Taylor's property, crossing over into Summerwoods. From there up to Old Mill, they're still showing 5 lanes in there.
Well, maybe with, as you say, the proper right and left turn lanes, that'll move the traffic along, but I just know it really backs up in front of our office for several blocks.
Right up there.
Daily.
Yeah.
From like CVS up to the ways up this way.
Right. Thank you, Terry, for taking time to bring us all up to date.
Thank you, Joy.
Just a minute.
Continue the discussion.
Hey, Terry. Oh,
Yes.
hey,
Ray.
Hey, how you doing?
Doing good.
I know on East Butler, the culverts need to be bigger. But if you make those things bigger, then that's going to cause more volume of water to go on down to the back end of Holly Springs, which has already got all the water they can handle. So keep that in mind too. If you increase the culverts on East Butler, you got to do something about the water, the increased water as it goes around. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, I'm 100% with you.
Okay.
I've had that discussion with a local councilman who lives in your neighborhood. And I made the Deputy Secretary of Engineering aware that, yeah, you can do a great job of improving the water, getting it under East Butler and dumping it in Gilder Creek. But do not forget that it goes around the curve and it comes out down the lower end of Holly Springs, and they already have a water issue and
Right.
the houses that we showed them that got destroyed. So
Right.
they say their hydro study will take that into account. It is brought up every time we meet with them that we do not want you just to worry about getting water off East Butler. We want you to worry
Right.
about getting
Right.
it all the way out of the city.
Right. Good. Well, I'll keep bringing it up too to remind you in case you forget.
I figured you will. And actually, there were some good comments from the stormwater group that I hosted for 3 or 4 months in this year. And they said the same thing, that you need to go to the end of the water flow and work your way back into Malden.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. You know, I was on that study committee. So yes.
That's right. That's right. So that was good points. We documented, Mr. Madden has that document also, as long as the council has seen it, and we will continue to be sure it's brought up.
Okay. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else?
He was just talking about blocking off.
Right here.
Stone. Bob.
Okay.
Bob Adams.
Hey, Bob. All right, Bob.
Of course, I'm concerned about the Bethel Road, Bethel Drive, East Butler intersection. And you talked about the tweaks that the SCDOT might make. One of the original drawings I saw actually split the Taylor property in half. The original drawing. You remember that drawing?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And then the latest goes closest to the Freedom Church, and of course takes 901, 903, and possibly part, or I don't see how they can't take 900 Fargo. The road would be so close to that house. And then of course 905, they're going to take the back end of the property and part of the front of that property and a tiny corner of my property at 907. So Brenda, I think you're and I'm going to call you Brenda because I don't know your last name. Richter, Miss Richter, your property frontage is, I think it's more like 150 feet, if I'm not mistaken, maybe a little bit more.
I have no clue. I don't, you know.
I think the distance between Old Mill and the intersection at Bethel is something like 252 feet, if I'm not mistaken. And so, Mayor, one of the questions I had is if the SCDOT could tweak Bethel Drive a little further east, possibly 75 feet to the east, and come up about 50 feet from the Taylor house, would that give them the space they need between two stoplights? Because they talk about a minimum distance between stoplights. That's one question I have. Another question, as far as SCDOT tweets, is can they leave Old Mill alone and leave the stoplight at Bethel there and just make it, no left turns onto East Butler from Old Mill.
I know they can see me. They can hear me too.
I can see you shaking your head.
I
but-
know you can.
Well, the thing I'm asking is that a tweak that they would consider? Would they go back to the original plan and just take part of, well, split the Taylor property, or even take the Taylor house? So that they didn't take any of the houses on Fargo. I mean, if they're trying to minimize the amount of disruption, then what they could do is take the Taylor house and leave us alone. I mean, the guy, Gerald Taylor's living in that house without electricity. I mean,
Well, let me answer that. First of all, my information is no, Gerald lives there while all utilities are active. He lives in the basement. He doesn't come upstairs and he doesn't come out the front door type thing, but he's still actively walking this property, usually early morning, late evening.
I do see him occasionally.
Yes. So, he's active there. Yes, I know that, part of the discussion last Wednesday with them, they looked at the traffic circle concept. It was not feasible because of the traffic flow, the way the roads were. They've looked at tweaking Bethel Drive westward, which then got
Hey.
into CVS property. And one of the discussions was to totally eliminate the CVS. That's a discussion. That's between them and the CVS people. The Old Mill Bethel Drive misalignment has been a major point for the city of Malden since 2012, 2013. If you look at what our vision within the city of Malden to try to do and not become Woodruff Road, is North Main Street, South Main Street, 276 it's there. It's 4, 5, 6 lanes. It's there. We're not going to change that. It already has some gridlock in certain times of the day type thing. So what do? We got West Butler theoretically fixed. City centers come in, there are growth there. But what can we do to be sure we have parallel corridors? If you're at Duke Mayonnaise and you get on Forester Drive and you turn right on Old Mill, that becomes a parallel corridor to get you off of 276. So then to make it efficient to come down Old Mill Road and not have to do a stop sign, left jog, right jog on Bethel Drive, it's the height of inefficiency. So the perfect thing is to align them. And the perfect solution is to align them starting right after you cross the culvert or bridge on Old Mill heading toward East Butler. And that takes it through 10 to 12 of the mobile homes. In the mobile home park, it touches the Barbary property, probably 75%, and a slight touch to the Clyde property in order to align. So they're looking at how to tweak all of those left, right, east, west type thing. The big hang up for us is 2 signals, 1,200 feet apart, roughly, doesn't help improve the flow. People coming to Old Mill, they're trying to get to Bethel Drive, then they got to turn to left, go 1,200 feet, turn to right, then come back around type thing. So they're looking at all that. Now, the tweak that they showed us coming up Bethel Drive does not touch any of the Fargo or the Bethel Drive residents. They brought it up and tweaked it. It still goes through the Taylor's property. It still divides the property. Let's call it in half. It wasn't slightly half, but from a projected real estate value, it is buildable property on both sides, maybe a retail strip or a commercial strip on one side, what we'll call the creek side. Now, these are just my theories, not that it would ever happen. Gerald's sister is in charge of that. She lives in Columbia. I have an ongoing dialogue with her and her representative locally. She has no intentions of doing anything with the property until situation with Gerald says that she needs to. So in other words, Gerald's gonna stay in his home and Gerald's gonna maintain his home and everything is good with Gerald. Whether or not he will be happy walking and hitting the sidewalk in the, what he calls his pasture land, you and I can discuss that all day and neither one of us can answer that question. So they've looked at tweaking that and going into Summerwood and, that's got to be on the table. And it is on the table. They're going to basically, I've asked them to look at going across Old Mill and tweaking left and right around to minimize the impact of the trailer park. It still touches 3 or 4 trailers. It definitely touches the Barbary property in totality. And then still leave that segment of Old Mill active as a driveway that you can get the fuel tanker in to service the gas tanks that are in the ground at the service station there. And Jamie still has his parking for his car maintenance shop type thing. So they've looked at tweaking that. The last one was too much of a radical turn. There was no line of sight coming down Old Mill to Bethel Drive and to East Butler Road. So they were taking that off the table. We explained to them we wanted on the table and make the radius of the turn larger, which does impact some of the mobile home park. And we will work with various agencies to be sure nobody's going to be pushed out of the city of Malden. We want them to have alternatives on whether it be housing ownership or rental or whatever they want. And everybody will have an equal opportunity for that. The right of way, once the right of way acquisition starts, DOT has all that formalized and those people will be in touch with our people, which is the homeowners, the business owners and that's not anything city will officially be involved in. We strictly between the property owners and South Carolina DOT. But we're asking for tweaks to minimize on the south side, the Fargo Street, the Bethel Drive, don't touch them. Those are homes that fit the media of the city of Malden. Long-time home ownerships, $200,000 and up type homes, residents that are citizens and they vote. As a mayor, I never forget that. You vote. So the other side, the north side is where the flexibility has to come in type thing. And that's what we've asked them to look at. So we hope it'll be positive. As far as moving Bethel Drive eastward, I did not see that on any of their drawings or any of their tweaks. I don't have a tape measure, so I can't tell you, but the edge of that homestead is pretty close. Even if you take the big oak tree down to make a right turn off of Bethel Drive on the East Butler, you do get into the corner of this driveway in his mailbox, I think. But anyway.
It's about 150 feet from Bethel to his edge of his house, what I calculate. I will say this. I hope Gerald lives as long as GH. Wasn't that Mr. Taylor's GH?
No. Terry,
Yes, ma'am.
what's his name? What was his name?
Mr. Taylor.
Yeah, Mr. Taylor. What was his initials?
I can't remember.
I thought it was like George H.
George. My granddaughter
G.H.
always stood up and yelled at him, cowman. And so he always came down and talked to her, cowman.
Well, he lived to be 92, so I hope
Yes, he did.
Gerald lives that long too.
Well, Gerald went to high school with me. He rode my school bus. So him and I are the same age. So hopefully we both.
I
got 20
saw
years.
him for the first time about a month ago. He was cutting the grass
With a lawnmower.
Mm-hmm.
with a push lawnmower, no
Yeah.
doubt.
He used to cut it with a weed eater, electric.
Well, I'm glad to hear that you're considering, and the SCDOT is considering leaving the houses on Fargo alone, because they're really one of the nicer middle class sections of Malden. If you know where the Lamel Bobby lives and where his parents live, we have mature landscape, trees. I have that lovely piece of property, the Taylor property behind me. I'd love to see you guys buy it and turn it into our own little Conisty Nature Preserve. But anyway, that's a dream.
Well, I can tell you that that was the topic of discussion I had with Francis. And I'll look you in the eye and say, it's not for sale. So I do have an ongoing discussion with her that one day there's a beautiful segment on there. We'd love to have a passive park, a walking trail in there. That's what is officially known as the Gilder Creek Blue Line tributary. Comes all the way back up to the Methodist Church.
Yeah, that is the Rewa right of way down through there. It would make a wonderful walking, bicycling path back through there and cross over where Gilder Creek comes in, right there where they're going to build the 2 new bridges.
Yes.
And then goes back across the road and goes back to the high school on that city-owned property. Wouldn't that make a beautiful trail?
Good idea.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
I agree with you. Thank you, Robert. Bob, sorry.
Either one.
Gotcha.
Terry,
Yes, Brenda.
do we have any idea when the DOT is going to get back with you, with the city? And these letters that you were talking about that's supposed to go out from Casey Lucas, are they going to be after the decision has been made of what way they're going to go, what y'all will agree with? Is those letters coming after or before the city's agreement with the whatever way y'all decide to go? Do we have any kind of timeline? I mean,
Yes.
okay,
All right.
You're
so
not-
Basically, 2 weeks from last Wednesday, they committed they'll have another virtual meeting with us and show us the newest tweaks and if they were able to work out something. If not, and they show us what their preferred method is, and they need a commitment from the city of in agreement of design moving forward. They need the city to sign on.
mm-hmm,
We cannot afford not to sign on. Otherwise, we go back to the bottom of the stack and work
Yeah.
it right for another 10 years before they even repave the road.
yeah,
Have that, we gotta do that. So that's what I say, it's a negotiation type thing. So we should get that. When she has that agreement in principle, she plans on sending letters out. She did commit, and Leland committed that there's going to be another public input session. It will be to basically show what has been agreed, and hopefully by then the city and DOT will stand together, saying this is the way we see it going forward. What do you think?
okay, okay,
She hopes to accomplish that in June.
okay, okay,
She needs this to be accepted in principle to move forward where they can start their right-of-way team in early 2021.
22.
2022, you're right, 2022.
God forbid yeah,
Yeah, I
Okay.
lost the whole year last year, so yeah.
I know.
So I
So-
would say by summertime, you should hear.
So those letters will not come out till then?
The letters, well, she said that she was holding off replying to any of them until she had an agreement in principle with the city of Malden.
Okay, when you say agreement in principle, is that the done deal?
I would not commit anything for DOT being a done deal. They have the ultimate.
Well, I know, but the city does too. So, I mean, I understand. I'm sorry.
I'm actually having to play politically correct here and say I can't do a final
know.
answer to you because we're still dancing.
I know. Okay. You answered my question. Thank you.
All right, thanks, Brenda. Anyone else? If not, it's Friday at 5 p.m. We all like to pack it in and go enjoy our weekend. I appreciate you guys sitting in with me on a Friday afternoon. Hopefully I've answered some questions, give you some updated information. Please feel free to reach out to me via email or my cell phone or on the website, however you'd like to, or stop me in the street, at the supermarket, at church, all the places I'm stopped that day. I really do appreciate your input and give thanks for all of the information you give to me and ask me to consider type thing and pass along on your behalf. Next month's session tentatively is going to be on the budgeting process for the city of Malden and where we're going to be proposing for July the 1st, 2021 to June the 30th, 2022. We call fiscal year 2022 budgeting process. So I hope to do that in June, and hopefully it'll be from a local business somewhere around here that can host us. More than likely, we'll still be doing Zoom also in case you can't make it in person. So with that, have a good weekend. Y'all be safe and keep them cards and letters coming. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, Terry.
Thank you, Brenda.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you, Mayor.
Thanks, Ireland.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate your time.
Bob, thank you, sir.
Bye-bye.
Bye.